Why was Rodan not in Godzilla vs. Kong? The Fire Demon Pterosaur was a major hit in Godzilla King of the Monsters, with the majority of viewers enjoying this adaptation of the fan favorite kaiju. Even Toho themselves seemed to enjoy this take on their iconic character. In fact, other than Godzilla, Rodan is the only other remaining original Toho monster left after both Mothra and Ghidorah were killed at the Battle of Boston. So Legendary Studios must have a good reason to not include the monster into their latest flick, Godzilla vs. Kong. The likely causes are either the rights to Rodan the studio received from Toho was only a one-time deal, or that the filmmakers wanted to put all their efforts and money into making Godzilla and Kong be the main focus of the movie, as Rodan probably would have taken away a little bit of their thunder. In the lore though, we got some official confirmation that Rodan was active likely months after the events of King of the Monsters. And with some other information given from all the recent lore, we can make some guesstimations as to what happened to Rodan after he reluctantly bowed to the Big G-Man. All that and more in today's video, but first take a look at a super sweet kaiju event coming soon hosted by one of the channel's dear friends. It appeared like Godzilla vs. Kong wanted to stay away from having any parts of the story spent talking about what happened to Behemoth, Rodan, and the other kaiju from King of the Monsters. Outside of the intro scene showcasing the list of monsters in a fighting championship style bracket, where we indeed did see Rodan with defeated placed over his card, signaling that Rodan was out of the game of Kaiju Thrones. After he was shanked by Mothra and was forced into submission by Godzilla, the credits of King of the Monsters held an Easter egg revealed in the newspaper footage going on in the background of the credits. Rodan had apparently managed to make it to a volcano near Fiji and was said to be nesting. There was nothing else mentioned about what happened to Rodan, but there is a line in the article describing how humanity was trying to see if Rodan and the other titans should be protected, like that of an endangered species. So it's likely that along his way to Fiji that Rodan made plenty of appearances in front of the eyes of unexpecting humans. There are over 150 volcanoes that scientists consider active in the United States, and with Boston being the last known location for Rodan, it's safe to assume that on his way to Fiji that he stopped a time or two at some of the volcanic locations on the mainland. Now if this did happen, the local humans in the vicinity of the volcano, along with the rest of the country's curious bystanders, monster hunters, and military would quickly begin to close in on Rodan's location. Rodan would be less likely to straight out attack due to Godzilla giving him a short leash after attacking the planet alongside Ghidorah, but after some time the vast amounts of human onlookers would grow annoying to the beast. This is why his eventual nesting spot in Fiji makes much more sense for a final destination, even though the newspaper article from the end of King of the Monsters stated how still thousands of people followed Rodan to this resting location. But still, it's much better than the mainland where millions of people would eventually go to explore and take a look at him. Surrounded by the Pacific Ocean, Fiji is a massive chain of small islands where many of them are still mostly left unexplored by mankind. There are 8 known volcanoes in the Fiji Islands, all of which are more than large enough for a 200-foot tall winged monster to hide in. If this was real, I would say that Rodan chose to rest in Taveuni, a 4,000-foot monster of a volcano that is known to have very dangerous lava flows, but also tends to be a decent place to visit if you aren't having to outrun magma. This would give Rodan more than enough space and would make the Titan feel like he was at least the alpha of some piece of land. Poor guy. Godzilla vs. Kong's very own novelization does mention Rodan once, with a very short and quick statement about how at some point during Godzilla's initial patrols of all the other Titans after he gained his Supreme Alpha status, that he took some time to check in on Rodan at his new home in Fiji. This tells us that Rodan was still awake many months, or at least during the first year after the monsters emerged. But since Godzilla vs. Kong takes place 3 to 4 years after the events of King of the Monsters, and that there was absolutely no mention of Rodan or any sign of the Titans still being active, that Rodan did indeed listen to Godzilla's command to go back into deep slumber. To be awoken during a time when Godzilla needed him, or when he gets another chance at stabbing the G-Men in the back. The lore never states any of this, but it's safe to assume that if Rodan was still active, that he would have gotten in on the action to overrule Godzilla and probably helped Kong, at least at first. The lore of the Monsterverse does a good job at, well, leaving it up to the fans to fill in the gaps. They give one tiny bit of info, a clue here and there, and allow us fans to make our own explanations as to what happened. In my opinion, this is both good and bad. I like having the freedom to make the Monsterverse my own world of sorts, but as a fan of deep lore and so many franchises, I would like to have more to go off of here to feed my imagination and love for this world of monsters. This brings me to a strange decision made by the people at Legendary Comics, the studio's graphic novel and book distribution company. In Godzilla Dominion, Legendary Comics decided to place a random image of Rodan right in the front of the book, but he never actually appeared in the actual story. But this does mean that at least at some point, time and thought was put into bringing Rodan to life in this comic book format. This could just be a nice gift to the fans. Methuselah is also shown only in this format and not at any point in the actual comic. But I would still like to think that there's a chance that we get another comic or two that helps give us fans more awesome lore to feast on. What do you guys think? So, if you think I earned it, stomp the subscribe button and hit the bell to stay up to date on all our new content. Share this video to your Rodan friends to see what they think too. Godzilla Singular Point, the Kong Netflix series, Jurassic World, all of that is still ahead of us residents, so we look forward to seeing you once again here in Dangerville. As always, this has been Jacob, and I'll see you